members are wonderful people. And
I was board member for a lot of years.
That's right, you were in Ramsey, Jill's in Wyckoff. I've never actually been a board member, but working with one. And it is true that working with the Board of Education, I know everybody here, so before, I think it would be a nice idea if everyone introduced themselves. Monica Browne, Browne River Superintendent.
Jeff Zoller, head custodian, George School, and superintendent of Westwood Region.
Chris Clear, superintendent of Wyckoff.
Carmela Leon, Director of Special Education for Saddle River. Deborah Farr.
Jill Mortimer, superintendent, principal of Luna.
Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for being here. I'm not sure we'll have to take the whole time, but are we meeting afterward too? Are they bringing us back together?
Yes, we are celebrating. We're celebrating next steps.
Yeah, there's Adam's pep talk at the end.
There's, okay, all right. Well, and again, I didn't know whether to feel good about myself that Adam asked me to do this presentation, or that there was something that was going on that was really wrong, and maybe he thought I needed some help looking into this more, and it might help me more. But I'm actually starting my 5th year in one district as superintendent. So as I look around the room, Debbie and I actually started the same year in the same quad. It's amazing how before you start the superintendency, you think you have an idea what goes on with boards of education, but until you're in that room behind the closed doors and people start screaming at each other and at you, it's eye-opening. And again, as a school level leader and as a superintendent, I always kind of one of those duh things that you think about, that if the Board of Education is working well together with the superintendent and the rest of the administration, and you kind of agree on a vision and goals, and everybody's working together cooperatively, it just makes sense that the district is moving in a better direction. And I always thought that, but before this presentation I started doing a little bit more research on it to see if that was truly the case, or if it was just me being Pollyanna and hopeful. And there has been some work done, mostly at the dissertation level, in some different universities, that does go to show that when school boards get along better with one another, and when they are supportive and helpful with the school administration, with the district administration, that actually get a lot more accomplished. And so as superintendents or district level administrators, I think it behooves us to try to make sure that our relations with the Board of Education are positive, but also that they can try to work well with one another. I think this is an impossible task because people run for the boards of ed for different reasons. They have different personalities, they have different agendas, and they have different allegiances that they come to the board already holding. And I think as a superintendent, we can try to build consensus. Patrick, we were in the last, he says he always tries to build consensus, but when it comes right down to it, he realizes that he has to go with the majority, and you can't get every Board of Ed member to agree with everything that you want done, or to even agree with each other, or heaven forbid agree with audience members, which always gets very interesting. So anyway, okay, so basically for this presentation, I started off with the premise that it's in the best interest of everyone if the Board of everyone's working together to keep focused and moving in a positive direction. But the problem is you can't control most of that. As a superintendent, as a district level administrator, we always, I don't know about you, but I always like to think about what I can control. And that's very difficult to do. And what I would like during this presentation is if you have any ideas or suggestions based on, because like I said, when those doors are shut, everybody deals with things differently. And, you know, I know that some things that have worked for me, and I've known some things that have just backfired. I'll try to share those, but it's with my particular Board of Ed. So if you have any others to share or any other ideas, this is when I think we can really learn from each other. So these are the different types of interactions. As I was kind of thinking in my mind who is attending this institute. We have school level leaders or district level leaders and individual individual Board of Ed members, school level leaders, and the Board of Ed as a group. Superintendent, which obviously is more pertinent to several of us, but not all of us, with the Board of Ed as a group. Superintendent with individual board members. These are always fun. Individual board members and individual board members. And then when you have board member group, the board member group. So I have some ideas and some tips that I think within each of these areas what might be helpful. But again, these are based on my reflections and just talking to colleagues. I think the best thing to do at a roundtable is kind of share war stories. But as I hear those war stories, I'm always trying to think, well, what tip could we give? What could we think of as a rule moving forward to try to avoid some tough situations? So. Just school level leader to individual board member. Oftentimes a board member will just stop by a school. And some of you are in one school district where board members just stop by. And I think this is very, very dangerous for that school level or district level leader because usually they have a reason for stopping by. They are not just there to say hello. They're trying to find something out. They're putting on their investigative hat, or they want to know the principal, the director, whomever is, the assistant principal, the teacher. They want to know what their opinions are. And that can be very, very dangerous. So, when board member, I remember as a school principal, I was a principal in a rather large district, so I didn't get to see all the board members very often. But when one would stop by, I always would think, oh God, what is the reason? And what are they doing? And yeah, I don't know if you guys have that same situation. But my tip for this would be, if I'm giving a tip to the principals, and I've spoken to our administrators in Upper Saddle River about this, and I'm sure you have too, is the tip I kind of have is that Agent Friday, just give the facts, limit opinions. Because if the board member is there trying to figure out if the parking situation is going well, instead of saying, I think our parking situation stinks, you should say, well, it takes us this long to dismiss. That's the facts. It takes us this long to get kids into the building. We've had to call the police twice because of accidents in the park. Those are all facts. Rather than, God, people are so frustrated, teachers can't get in on time. Because that can cause problems down the road for the school level administrator and also for the superintendent, which of course I always don't want to see any problems with the superintendent. So I tell people to answer honestly. I mean, you don't want to lie, but if you can err on the side of just giving the facts and being positive about the school and about the district as a whole, then I believe it's really important that the school level administrators do that, or the district level administrators do that. It's the opinions that can get people in trouble. If they go to a teacher and say, how do you like that new math program? And the teacher says, well, I'm having trouble with this part of it, then you're sitting at a board meeting and the board member says, well, teachers hate this part of the math program because they don't like the way it's, and that can really be a problem for a superintendent, really for a board as a whole, the board getting along. So I think if school level leaders can stick to the facts, err on the side of pleasantness, it really helps. But do you guys do the same way? Or do you tell your principals that?
In my particular situation with having so many new and non-tenured administrators, I've actually had this conversation with the board saying, look, not for nothing, but whether you believe it or not, you're intimidating to the administrators because you're voting on their tenure and their contracts and so forth. You need to be a lot better about following your own board policy regarding chain of command, which happens to work both ways.